What most investors miss in doing the numbers. This presentation explores commonly overlooked elements in residential construction costing within the Australian real estate investment landscape. It focuses on hidden expenses, underestimated risks, and practical methods to improve financial planning in development or renovation projects. The key goal is to highlight gaps in how investors do the numbers. Australian residential developments often run into cost overruns due to insufficient forecasting. Issues like council approval delays, fluctuating trades rates, and GST implications are often underestimated. Many developments fail not because of poor property selection, but because of unrealistic budgeting assumptions. The big picture. Investors typically focus on purchase price, refurbishment budget, ARV, after renovation value, holding and selling costs, including interest on loans and agent commissions. However, this overlooks many nuanced cost factors that are just as impactful. The aim is to go beyond these surface numbers. Hidden costs in residential construction. 1. Permit fees. Includes development application fees, construction certificates, and Section 94 or 7/1 contributions, depending on the LGA. 2. Upgrades or connections, including NBN setup, sewer mains connections, or water infrastructure that may be charged by providers like Sydney Water. 3. Soil testing, surveys, environmental reports, geotech surveys, bushfire risk assessments, BAL ratings, and flood studies are often needed but rarely budgeted early. 4. Site work and grading, earth moving, excavation, retaining walls, especially on sloped blocks, can balloon unexpectedly. 5. Material price fluctuations, driven by inflation, supply shortages, or international freight surcharges. Underestimating labour realities. 1. Skilled labour shortages. There's a real shortage of qualified trades, particularly in regional New South Wales, Western Australia and Queensland. 2. Contractor availability and cost. Subbies may not be available at your timeline or rate, forcing you to pay premiums. 3. Time blowouts. Timeline assumptions often ignore real-world lags due to weather, rework, or materials delivery. This extends holding costs. Financing pitfalls. Interest reserve underestimation, particularly on construction loans where progressive drawdowns attract interest from day one. Draw schedule delays, progress payments can be delayed by bank inspections or certification lags. Lender inspection and admin fees. Banks and private lenders charge fees for progress payment assessments and document processing. Holding costs, rates, land tax and insurances accumulate even during delays. Change orders, the silent killer. Change orders or variations typically arise from revised building codes or compliance changes, upgrades to finishes, client-driven or market-driven, misinterpretation of architectural engineering plans. These can easily push a project 10 to 20% over budget. In Australia, variation costs are also subject to GST and must be signed off with proper documentation, often causing timeline disputes. Incomplete exit cost analysis. Exit costs commonly underestimated include real estate commission, 2 to 3% in metro areas, marketing and staging, photography, styling, online ads, legal and conveyancing fees, capital gains tax, CGT, especially if held in a trust or company structure, or the property isn't covered under the main residence exemption. Case study example, a small duplex project in regional Victoria underestimated site prep. Sloped land needed $25,000 in additional retaining and cut and fill. On top of this, the local council delayed DA approval by 2 months. Holding costs increased by $10,000 and total overrun hit $40,000. The planned ROI of 18% dropped to 6% after all expenses. How to do the numbers right. Feasibility analysis. Include full cost breakdowns for site, approvals, build, finance, holding, and exit costs. Contingency. Minimum 10 to 15% buffer recommended for residential construction. Multiple quotes. Always validate costs with at least 3 independent builder quotes. Scenario planning. Model base case, stretch goal, and worst case financials. Tools and resources. Excel feasibility templates. Localised for Australian, GST, stamp duty, and council costs. Construction budget apps. BuildExact, ArchiePro. Sales estimators. Use RP data or Price Finder for current sales trends. Professional advisors. Quantity surveyors and town planners for expert input. Final takeaways. Budgeting must reflect the full scope, not just materials and trades. Risk buffers and realism prevent project failure. Costs that aren't seen in spreadsheets can emerge painfully on site. Be conservative, not optimistic.